Imagine living through two world wars, witnessing the invention of the airplane, and seeing the rise of the internet, all within a single human lifetime. This is not a work of fiction, but the true story of a woman who holds a title that seems almost impossible. She is recognized not by her fame or fortune, but by the sheer, undeniable fact of her longevity. We are talking about Jean Louise Calment, the oldest human being ever officially recorded in history. Her life was not a brief flicker, but a long, steady flame that burned for an incredible 122 years and 164 days. To put that staggering number into perspective, think about this. She was born in the year 1875, a full 14 years before the Eiffel Tower was completed. When she came into the world, the telephone was a brand new invention, and the light bulb was a modern miracle just beginning to illuminate homes. She was a young girl when Vincent van Gogh was painting his masterpieces, and she would later meet him in person. She was already an adult during the First World War and a grandmother during the Second. By the time she peacefully passed away in 1997, the world was a completely different place. It was a world of space stations, personal computers, and global digital networks. Her story is not just a medical marvel or a scientific curiosity. It is a profound human narrative that challenges our understanding of what a single life can contain. Jean Calment's existence bridges centuries of human progress, connecting an era of horse-drawn carriages to the age of supersonic jets. She was a living, breathing time capsule, a direct link to a past that most of us can only read about in history books. Her remarkable journey invites us to explore not only the secrets of her exceptional longevity, but also the simple, everyday life she led for over 12 decades. This is a tale of resilience, humor, and a life lived fully, one day at a time, for more than a century and a quarter. It is the story of a woman who became the ultimate champion in the quiet marathon of human existence. The foundation of Jean Louise Calment's extraordinarily long life was laid in a place that itself seems touched by a gentle, timeless magic. She was born on February 21st, 1875, in the sun-drenched city of Arles, nestled in the beautiful Provence region of southern France. Her surroundings were not a sterile laboratory, but a vibrant, colorful tapestry of French culture, warm Mediterranean breezes, and a pace of life dictated not by the clock, but by the sun. From her very first breath, she was immersed in an environment of art, light, and a deep connection to the land. Her father, Nicolas, was a shipbuilder, a man of craft and skill, and her mother, Marguerite, came from a line of millers. The family was prosperous, well-established, and part of the very fabric of Arlesian society. Jean was the youngest of 4 children, but fate had already cast a long shadow, with 2 of her older siblings passing away in infancy. She grew up as the cherished child, surrounded by a bustling, lively household. Her childhood was a world away from our modern, screen-filled lives. She went to a local school, but much of her education happened outside the classroom walls. She learned to roller skate, a popular pastime at the time, and she was an energetic, playful child who loved to chase butterflies and play with her friends in the town squares. The Arles of her youth was a place of elegant houses, busy marketplaces, and a strong community spirit where everyone knew their neighbors. It was a safe and nurturing bubble. As she grew into a young woman, this stable environment allowed her personality to flourish. She was witty, intelligent, and possessed a quiet but unshakable confidence. Her love for fine things began early, with a particular fondness for chocolate and port wine, simple pleasures that she would continue to enjoy throughout her entire life. This period was a silent, gentle preparation for the marathon she was destined to run. The clean air, the fresh, local food prepared with olive oil from the region, and a life free from the chronic stress of the modern world all contributed to a physical foundation of remarkable strength. In Jean Calment's early years, We see no magic secret, no extreme discipline, just a happy, bourgeois life in a beautiful corner of the world, a perfect stage upon which an epic life was about to unfold. One of the most captivating chapters of Jeanne Calment's life is a story she carried with her for decades, a fleeting but personal encounter that connected her to a giant of art history. When Jeanne was a young teenager of 13 or 14, a peculiar and scruffy man started coming to her father's ship chandlery to buy canvas for his paintings. This man was not celebrated or wealthy during his lifetime. He was a figure of ridicule, often dirty, red-bearded, and wild-eyed, reeking of absinthe. His name, of course, was Vincent van Gogh. Jeanne would later recall seeing him in the streets of Arles and in the shop, and her assessment of the now legendary post-impressionist painter was anything but starstruck. In her own disarmingly honest words, she described him as ugly, ill-mannered, and graceless, a complaint of a typical teenager who had no patience for someone who didn't fit in. She found him dirty and badly dressed, a stark contrast to her own neat and proper upbringing. This was not the romanticized vision of a genius we all hold today. It was a raw, unfiltered memory of a child who simply saw a strange, unpleasant man. It is a detail of immense historical value because it strips away the myth and gives us a brutally authentic glimpse of what it was like to be an ordinary person living alongside a now mythical figure. Van Gogh was not the legendary creator of Starry Night to her. He was just the weird man who came to buy painting supplies. This brief intersection of lives is profound. It places her firmly in a moment of cultural revolution. Van Gogh's time in Arles was his most productive and tormented period, where he painted masterpieces like The Bedroom and Café Terrace at Night. To think that the woman who would live to see the dawn of the internet once brushed shoulders with this tortured soul from another century is almost surreal. This anecdote is not just a charming party trick from history. It is a powerful symbol of her life's arc. She began her journey in a world of oil lamps and post-impressionists, and ended it in a world of genetic sequencing and the World Wide Web. The girl who judged Van Gogh's appearance in 1888 became a living bridge between his world and ours, a living reminder that history is not an abstract concept, but a collection of personal, human moments. When asked for the secret behind her staggering longevity, Jeanne Calment never pointed to a strict diet of kale smoothies, a punishing exercise regimen, or a serene life of monastic meditation. Instead, she offered a recipe that was as charmingly simple as it was surprisingly rebellious. Her philosophy, consistently reported over decades, was a blend of laughter, olive oil, port wine, and a generous dose of good humor. She famously said, "I only have one wrinkle, and I'm sitting on it." This wasn't just a funny line. It was her entire worldview in a single sentence. Her key ingredient was a complete, almost radical, absence of stress. She seemed to have an innate ability to let worry slide off her back like water off a duck. Her daily rituals were a testament to this pleasure-first approach. She smoked for nearly a century, starting at the age of 21 and only quitting, reluctantly, at 117 because she was too blind to light a cigarette herself and was embarrassed to ask for help. She consumed over 2 pounds of chocolate a week. She drank a glass of port wine almost every day, along with an occasional dessert wine, which she believed helped preserve her. And, most famously, she drenched almost all her food in copious amounts of olive oil, which she also rubbed directly onto her skin. From a modern medical standpoint, we might wince at the smoking, but her body seemed to metabolize her vices with a supernatural grace. The olive oil likely provided potent antioxidants for her cells and skin, and the chocolate fed her soul. However, the true longevity elixir was her psychological makeup. She did not dwell on the negative. After losing her beloved only daughter to pneumonia and her husband to a cherry dessert overdose, she grieved, but she moved forward with a resilience that was as tough as old leather. She didn't harbor resentment, anxiety, or existential dread. She lived. She played the piano for 100 years, took up fencing at 85, and was still riding a bicycle at 100. Her mind was always active, curious, and sharp, but never burdened by the heavy weight of the world. It was a mental state of flow, a life lived in the present tense, where a good laugh and a piece of chocolate were not guilty pleasures, but essential medicines. Her secret wasn't about avoiding death. It was about being so busy enjoying life that death simply forgot to call. Even a life as charmed as Jeanne Calment's is not immune to the practical difficulties of extreme old age. By the time she was 90, she had long outlived her husband, her daughter Yvonne, and her grandson. She was completely alone in the world, without any direct heirs. Living in her spacious apartment in Arles, she faced a classic retirement problem. Her savings were finite, but her life seemed to stretch on into an unknowable future. Her only asset was her beautiful apartment, and her biggest need was a steady income. This is when she entered into a contract so unusual, so perfectly ironic, that it has become the stuff of legal legend. It was a deal known in France as a viager, a reverse annuity mortgage, but with a darkly humorous twist. A 47-year-old lawyer named André-François Raffray approached her with a proposal. He agreed to pay her a sum of 2,500 francs every single month for the rest of her life. In exchange, upon her death, her apartment would become his property. Raffray meticulously calculated the apartment's value and assumed, quite logically, that a 90-year-old woman would not live very many more years. He believed he was making a brilliant investment, securing a prime piece of real estate for what he estimated would be a short-term payout. He was, after all, a reasonable man dealing with a frail nonagenarian. He could not have been more wrong. The deal was signed, and Raffray dutifully began his monthly payments, waiting for the day the apartment would be his. But the years ticked by. Jeanne turned 100, then 105, then 110. Raffray kept paying and paying. This legal agreement transformed into a slow-motion financial tragedy for him and a dark comedy for everyone else. Jeanne outlived the lawyer himself. In a stunning twist of fate, André-François Raffray died of cancer at the age of 77, before the woman he was betting against. He had paid her nearly twice the apartment's market value. The obligation then fell to his widow, who was legally bound to continue the monthly checks until Jeanne's death. Every year, Jeanne would send them a playful, razor-sharp message on her birthday, reminding them how much longer she had lived. The Viager deal became the ultimate symbol of her indomitable will. She hadn't just beaten the system. She had outlived the man who had bet on her death, proving that Jeanne Calment would always have the last laugh. For the first 112 years of her life, Jeanne Calment was a private citizen, an anonymous local curiosity. That all changed in 1988, on the centenary of Vincent van Gogh's visit to Arles. A researcher learned that someone who had actually met the painter was still alive. From that moment, the world's media descended upon her nursing home, and the quiet Grande Dame was thrust into a global spotlight she could never have anticipated. She handled this sudden fame with the same breezy charm she handled everything else. She gave interviews, posed for photographs, and was soon featured in documentaries and on magazine covers worldwide. She became a national treasure, a living monument, and she loved every minute of the attention. Her remarkable memory and sharp wit made her a journalist's dream. As she aged past 115, 116, and then 120, the title of oldest person ever was officially bestowed upon her by the Guinness World Records. Her hometown of Arles celebrated her as Jeanne the Eternal. But with this unprecedented global fame came an unprecedented scrutiny. The burden of proof for such an extraordinary claim is immense. Scientists and demographers had to be absolutely certain that no mistake, or worse, no fraud, had been committed. Because she had lived so publicly, the documentation was vast. Researchers assembled a massive dossier of evidence that would stand up in any court of law. They had her original birth certificate from 1875, census records from 16 different years placing her in the right place at the right time, and a trail of family photographs and church records, including her baptismal certificate. This ironclad paper trail created a fortress of verification. It was so comprehensive that it became the gold standard for age validation. For decades, her record stood as an unassailable monolith. However, after her death, some skeptical voices, primarily from Russia, attempted to create a conspiracy theory. They suggested that Jean had actually died in 1934 and that her daughter, Yvonne, had stolen her identity to avoid paying inheritance taxes. This theory, which implied the woman who died in 1997 was only a sprightly 99, was a sensational claim. But it was thoroughly investigated and universally rejected by the global scientific and demographic community. French records, including Yvonne's death certificate, photographic evidence of Jean's unique height and bone structure, and the sheer logistical impossibility of an entire town being fooled for decades, swiftly debunked the theory. The truth remained untouched. Jean Calment was, and still is, the real thing. Even for a woman who seemed to have made a personal arrangement with eternity, the sun eventually had to set. The final years of Jean Calment's life were a slow, gentle retreat from the world, a quiet glide towards an end that had been postponed for a record-breaking amount of time. At the age of 115, a fall and a subsequent hip surgery finally forced her from her beloved apartment into a nursing home. It was a necessary transition, but one that marked the beginning of her physical decline. Her mobility, once so free that she was cycling at 100, was reduced to a wheelchair. Her vision dimmed to the point of blindness, and her hearing faded, wrapping her in an increasingly silent and dark world. Yet, even as her senses failed, the core of her personality, that sharp, citrusy wit and regal presence, remained undimmed until the very end. She spent her days sitting in a chair, listening to music, and receiving visitors who came from all over the world to meet a living miracle. She was treated like a queen, and she accepted this status as her natural due. The staff and the other residents of the nursing home were not just her caretakers. They were her final court. Every birthday became a major media event, a testament to a record that stretched further into the impossible with each passing year. At 122, she finally allowed her mind to drift. On a cassette tape recorded for her, a music therapist played a gentle song, and for one of the last times, her face lit up, and she sang along in a frail whisper, a ghost of the playful girl from 1875. On August 4th, 1997, at 10:45 in the morning, Jean Louise Calment passed away in her sleep. The cause was simply old age. The incredible physiological machinery that had run without major failure for over a century and a quarter had finally and peacefully wound down. Her death was not a tragic event, but the world's quiet recognition of an ending that had been truly earned. It was the closing of a book of life that contained more chapters than any other. Her departure was announced around the globe, a moment of collective pause to acknowledge that a unique thread connecting us to the age of horse-drawn carriages and post-impressionist painters had been snipped. The woman who had cheated time had finally paid her dues, leaving behind a world that was fundamentally different from the one she had entered, a world she had uniquely witnessed, shaped, and charmed for 122 years. So what does the life of Jean Calment leave behind? It is more than just a number in a record book that may or may not ever be broken. Her legacy is a philosophical puzzle, a biological miracle, and a deep human inspiration all rolled into one. Scientifically, she remains the Mount Everest of longevity. Her genetic makeup, a fortuitous combination from her long-lived ancestors, is a subject of intense study. Her cells repaired themselves with an efficiency that is almost science fiction. She is the ultimate proof of concept for an extreme human lifespan, demonstrating what our bodies are theoretically capable of under perfect, and perhaps infinitely lucky, conditions. Her case forces scientists to ask not just why we die, but how some extraordinary individuals manage to live so long in defiance of all expectations. But her greatest legacy is not a cellular one. It is a philosophical one. Jeanne Calment rewrote our social script for old age. She showed us that extreme aging does not have to be synonymous with a total loss of pleasure, humor, or personality. She was not a frail, silent husk waiting for the end. She was a living, laughing, chocolate-eating presence who turned her immense age into a stage for her final and greatest performance. She taught us that resilience and a good attitude are not about avoiding hardship, but about digesting it. She experienced immense personal tragedy, but did not allow it to define her final decades. Her life was a masterclass in personal state management, a century-long advertisement for the protective power of not taking life too seriously. As we look to a future where life expectancies are increasing, her story becomes a guiding star. The pursuit is no longer just a longer life, but a better life within those extra years. She remains a timeless icon, the official patron saint of long life, who continues to win arguments from beyond the grave. When someone complains about getting older, the ultimate rebuttal is simply her name. She stands as a comforting and slightly intimidating reminder that our second half, or even our second century, can be filled with wit, pleasure, and a little bit of port. The echo of her 122 years reminds us that while we cannot all be Jeanne Calment, we can all carry a little bit of her spirit. We can choose to laugh a little more, stress a little less, and remember that sometimes a life well lived is the sweetest, longest revenge against time itself.